Welcome back. Part 4 of the W6 restoration. So you can see I actually took a little bit of time and cleaned up some of my shop, so I actually have room to walk around in here. You'll see this is back on. I kind of cheated. Not exactly proud. What I did is I took an 1/8 inch cold rolled steel, beat it on my anvil until it was nice and thin, and the right size to fit and fill the gap in the back of the space on the spines, and did that in 4 spots around the wheel on the back side of the spline, so that it only is going to be under pressure in reverse. Is it a good fix? No. Will it do for now? Yes. Otherwise I'd have to replace this entire axle, and that means taking a lot more stuff off, and I don't want to do that since the bearing actually seems fine. Everything else seems fine. It's just the play at the end of the axle. So this is just going to be a parade princess anyways. It's not going to do a whole lot of anything, especially in reverse. So that's what I did to fix it. So anyway, so that's back on. She's nice and solid now. So now we're going to continue with the disassembly. I've already started. I took my headlights off the side here, and I'm just gonna take off the bottom bolts and see what we got underneath. I don't understand why yet. On the other side, there were about 4 or 5 washers piled up on the bolt. And on this side, there's a washer and a nut piled up to give it space out. So I haven't figured out why that is quite yet, but maybe it'll become apparent soon. Alright, let's see. I think that's all the bolts on. Yep. It's feeling loose. Now, probably hasn't been off since it's new, or who knows. Yeah, let's get something to pry with. Headlight wire hanging up on us on this side. I'll pull it out. And there we are. Okay, so I did notice I'm going to have a little bit of body work to do here. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera, but there's a hole in the metal right here. I'll have to weld that and try and make that better. Couple fins to straighten, but overall it's not bad. I think there's another hole here. This looks like a bullet hole. Interesting. Well, there's no bullet holes in the rad, so. But yeah, that 100% looks like a bullet hole. Alright, next I'm going to take off the radiator. So the idea is I'm going to strip this thing down. So basically anything that's not getting painted red isn't there anymore. Alright, we took these 2 bolts with the springs on from the bottom of the radiator. And I've just got hose clamp on the other side to take off. And then this thing should be ready to pull off the tractor. I always undo both ends. And if one end wants to go easier than the other, I'm fine with that, as long as it comes apart. Alright. Here goes nothing. There's the top off. Let's get this a little. Version. Now there's a drain pipe that heads straight down here too, so that's going to mean I'm going to have to basically go straight up once I get that hose to come off. And I don't think these have been on too long. In fact, I think I might have put them on. And you know what? I have brand new hoses to go on here anyway, so I'm just going to slice that. That's the easy way to get it off. Well, it feels like it was way harder than it should have been. Anyways. Now we should be able to go straight up. The trick is this fan shroud. You need to get around the fan and raise up. And come out with this drain. Aha, there's the trick. You got to turn the fan the right way. Oh, I'm dripping some. There's an opening in the bottom of the fan shroud. You have to turn the fan so that it's up and down, so it'll slide out of there. Otherwise you get caught up. So just a tip if anybody else is doing this. Okay, so let's put the rad somewhere safe. All right, so we've got the rad off. Not too bad under there. Now I'm just going to work at stripping this down a little more. I'll take off my electrical, probably pull off the carburetor and everything too, as well as this inline heater, which I think I'll probably reinstall because it'd be nice to be able to start this thing in the winter after. Okay, so I got a little bit of work ahead of me. Pull off the magneto and its wires, generator, take off this whole wiring harness. We'll get this thing stripped down, ready to clean up. Well, it's about an hour later now. Let's just have a look at where we are. So I've got the magneto off. I took off the manifold, carburetor, air cleaner, both of the gauges. Getting closer. I do want to take off these belts. I'm looking at this fan, and it is not obvious as to how I get the belt off. So I'm going to go inside for lunch, find my INT manual, and we can learn together. So I'll show you how I do wind up getting that off. This is a kind of an interesting setup here. It runs on a clutch, I guess, for the water pump. I'm not sure how this works, so I got to read up on this. But yeah, that's about an hour's worth of work so far. We're getting close. There's not a whole lot on here anymore that isn't getting painted red. So once we get down to that, I think we'll be ready to start with all the wire brushing and flapper disking for front to back. Okay, so I cannot find my INT manual. Google isn't turning up much, but I think it's somewhat similar to how the rest of the Farmall series works. Basically, there's a set screw on there, you loosen that, and then you drive this counterclockwise to loosen, and hopefully that isn't too badly stuck, and I can get the belt loose. Let's see if that theory holds true. Now let's see if it's got one of those or two of those. Looks like just one of those. Okay. And then that looks like it's been driven on before. Yeah, that is completely out now. It can't be holding anything up. Sprayed some PB Blaster on this. I have a bad feeling it's going to be fairly stuck here. Nope, that is stuck. Now I could heat it up. Then I end up melting my belt, which I don't really want to do. The belt is in decent enough shape. It's the correct amount of tightness. What's the worst that's going to happen if I get some paint on it, I guess. Otherwise, I've got myself a mess here. And I don't want to break this anymore. There's a little chunk chipped off of the casting as it is. So I think that's just going to sit the way that it is. I'll give it some more PB Blaster. Maybe we'll try it later on in the restorations. But for now, I'm just going to let that sit. Put the screw back in so I don't lose it. I don't like cutting corners, but I also don't like causing myself trouble where I don't need to. So a little bit of paint on the belts isn't going to hurt anything if we have to. All right, so I think we are ready to start plugging these holes. So I've 3D printed some plugs for this and for the spark plug holes. We'll see how those work next. All right, so it was a little bit of trial and error on the plugs. So this I had originally printed for this hole, and the angle on the sides of it isn't quite enough to give it a good fit in the hole. This one, however, much better. So I'm going to print 5 more of these, plug off each of these holes. And then I've got these smaller ones to go into the spark plugs. And I know this fits because I've already got my test one in the hole. So these things work perfectly. Pop them in the hole, give them a little push, friction fit. Now I'll have no dirt, no worries. And then when I'm done with painting and everything, I can just pull them back out with pliers. They're sitting up from the hole just slightly, but I'll get paint right down on everything else. Okay, I've continued stripping. We have the second fender off now. Pretty much everything that isn't supposed to be red is off. You can see I finished printing my plugs there. I lifted the front end of the tractor up and noticed the front wheels, those bearings are awfully loose. So I got started on this side. Sorry I didn't film it, but basically there was just the 3 bolts to take off. But look at that. There's a castle nut on the end of this. There was no cotter pin put in. So it's backed itself off. So I'm guessing it's probably the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to tighten this down, throw you guys in the stand, show you how I do it. It's not rocket science. Basically, you just tighten it down till it feels proper and it's not sliding around, and then you throw your cotter pin in there. You want just a little bit of resistance when you're turning it. This has no resistance. So. Bearings are okay. It feels smooth for what is there, but let's see once we tighten her up. Lucky this didn't just come right off. Look real smart with the front wheel falling off tractor. There you go. So you tighten it up to the point where you're feeling resistance, and then back off slightly. And that feels nice and smooth. I don't think I have any issues with the bearings themselves. There it is. So this is something that's hard to describe, but basically you want it just to the point where you're starting to feel some resistance. That's tight enough. Now, find our way through the grease, the cotter pin hole. Grab a nice shiny new cotter pin here. Now we might have to feel around for a hole. Oh, got lucky. Look at that. All right. A little easier on the fingers if you use pair pliers for doing that, but too lazy to walk across the shop, so that's what I get. All right. Just so I don't have to scrub my hands, I'll throw these things on. Makes dealing with this grease a little easier. All right, now I'll repeat for the other side, exactly the same. I wasn't going to film this side, but actually I got the cap off, and this has a different style nut. So it has a castle nut, but it's also got another bolt here to help retain it. So thought I'd show that. So it must be 2 different styles. I don't know if maybe at some point they took off a different year or they just found a nut that fit. But anyways, this one's slightly different. We've got the same problem on this side, not quite as pronounced as the other side. I see I'm going to need some spindle bushings in here too. So the whole spindle moving on me there. So I'll get a wrench. And then we'll loosen that, and then from there it should be same as the other side. Alright, that looks good to me. I'll tighten this back up. There's a nut on the back side, apparently. No, I don't know. I guess it's good measure to put a cotter pin through here if there's a hole available. But I'm not sure with that style of nut if we're actually, yeah, I'm not finding a hole. So I think that being tightened down is going to have to be enough to lock this in. Now that that's on tight, I just want to see. Yeah, that doesn't move now. Okay. All right, I'll pack this with grease. And then I think I'm done everything that I can do to procrastinate from having to wire wheel and start cleaning this thing up. I am getting so tired of wire brushing, but that's part of the job. All right. Well, I've made myself nice and dirty. So I must have got something done, I hope. All right, so I have been all through the front end of this up here. I haven't done any of the underneath yet. Probably come back and take off the rest of the paint here, but just giving it the first once over right now, getting rid of all of the loose stuff. Coming along. Sounds like we're starting to get our first winter storm of the year outside, so yay. I guess we've made out pretty well. It's pretty late in the year. So I'm going to continue with this, but I think it's probably a good spot to end off this video. I made a purchase this week as well, so look forward to an upcoming trip. I can tell you this much. I'm going to North Dakota to pick it up, and if you check my community posts page, you can get a view of the back end of what it is, and you can maybe guess. Don't cheat by looking in the comments first. But you can guess what it is, and look forward to probably either Friday or Saturday that video going up. But anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.